It's 12:30, so let's go ahead and get started. Like I mentioned to Jamie earlier, if as everybody comes on, I'll admit them in. But I am Rita Graff with Southwest Tech Prep, and thank you for joining us for our session today. I'm going to introduce Jamie Smith. Jamie is an advocate for making academics relevant to students' career path with experience in integrating industry recognized credentials into the curriculum. So currently, Jamie is the director of curriculum at Grant Career Center. Her prior role was she was the biotechnology teacher at for 6 years and a high school science teacher for 8 years. Jamie is an officer in the Academic and Instruction Division of Ohio ACT-E and is passionate about renewing a love and learning and creating opportunities for students. And I've got people coming in, so I'm going to try to keep that moving forward. So I'm going to take no more time and I'm going to actually introduce Jamie. So Jamie, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you take over.
All right. We practiced this, so it should work.
Yeah, we did. There we go. You should be able to.
Can you see my screen? Rita,
Yes.
you can? Okay,
Yes.
good.
Your screen. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see here. All right. So, as Rita said, right now I'm the curriculum director at Grant Career Center. My passion for this topic kind of rolled around from my past experience. I was a high school science teacher. I taught everything from the freshman success academies all the way up to honors courses, and dealing with trying to really motivate students to become more engaged in their learning became more and more difficult. So as I moved into the role of a biotechnology instructor, I learned about what credentials were, learned about what CTE was, and then into my role as a curriculum director, I really, really found this passion for helping to make academics relevant to the student to help engage them in their learning. So, there we go. A little bit about Grant Career Center. Grant Career Center was founded in 1976. We are one of the older career centers in the state. We are very small, though. We have 4 associate school districts that we serve, but we also have a growing population of homeschooled students. We serve around 450 students in our main campus, our main building, day to day. And we also have 2 middle school satellites, one at New Richmond and one at Bethel Tate. So we offer, for a small school, I feel like we offer a large amount of programs. We have 13 programs offered here at Grant Career Center. We have allied health, auto tech, construction, Cosmo, criminal justice, culinary, early childhood education, engineering design, large animal science, UC manufacturing engineering, information technology, veterinary science, and metal fabrication and welding. So very diverse, which allows us to really dive into those industry credentials and see where else we can put them to help support those programs and those students. So I'm assuming that some of the obstacles that we saw are similar to many obstacles that you all experience day to day. We were finding that students were disengaged with their core academic courses. And that's not every student, but we tend to see that at a career center. A lot of times we will have a higher percentage of students that don't do well in a traditional school setting. So those academic courses that they've seen and they may not have had success in, they already come with this preconceived notion that they're not going to find success in it here. So we found that some students were disengaged with those academic courses, which meant that their behaviors in those courses were disengaged as well. Those behavior issues were starting to arise. Likely they hadn't seen academic success before. So they were, really struggling with putting forth that effort. Those students who were able to put forth that effort and they did well in their academic courses, they didn't necessarily knew where it fit. They didn't know how to apply it when they were in their labs. So it wasn't necessarily relevant to them. They could regurgitate information, but they didn't truly understand why they were learning it or where it could take them or how it could help them. So they just learned it so that they could get through the course. It was another checkbox that they had to complete before they could move on. And we wanted it to be more than that for them. So, a lot of times people will say students go to a career center for the programs, and that's 100% true. But what if they came for the academics too? What if they came to learn something that they thought was valuable in those academics that helped to jumpstart them in that program and in that career field and give them that extra leg up? So that's where we kind of started from. In our journey, we wanted to look at all the possibilities that we could to get these students engaged. I also wanted to say, I didn't at the beginning, if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to interject them as we go along. I wanted this to be a little bit more informal and discussion related. So any ideas that you have or things that you've done and you want to share, I would love to hear them. I would love for this to be a generator of ideas because what we do, I know, is just a very small portion of what's being done around the state, and I would love to learn from you all as well on this topic. So why did we choose to look at industry recognized credentials? Well, one of the reasons is if a student feels like that topic is relevant to them or relevant to their plan or gets them to the goal that they want to reach, they're going to be more involved. They're going to want to put forth that effort. They're going to take control of their learning, which is really where you want your student to be. Our graduation requirements have become more and more complex. This putting industry recognized credentials and those points in your academic courses allows you to broaden your ability to get a student to that end goal. So many of the credentials that are offered cross pathways and career fields. If you really look at your coursework and you really see which credentials can overlap in your courses, you can find ones that will fit. You can find ones that will benefit a majority of your students that will be helpful to them and that they'll find relevancy in. I mentioned one of the obstacles was that students could learn information but not be able to apply it in their career field of choice or in their lab that they're doing, or maybe they have an after-school job changing tires or working at a shop or something like that, but they don't know how to apply that information that they've learned in their academic course to what they're actually doing in life. So what this does, those industry recognized credentials shows them the concepts that they're learning in class and where they can apply them. What's that next step? They see where their knowledge is taking them, right? So often in class, we tell a student to do something and, well, why am I doing it? Well, it's for a grade. Well, for me, that wasn't enough, right? I was a student that I wasn't a lover of school. And if I didn't understand why I was doing something or how I was doing something, it didn't really matter. So this gives them that opportunity to learn those professional skills that can be used in their career field so they understand why they're learning it. Those students who haven't seen success previously, they are provided these smaller chunks that they can learn information in, these smaller chunks that they can see success in, and they can take those successes and it helps to give them confidence to keep moving forward. Kids today, they need that instant gratification. And while I'm not saying that we give them instant gratification if they don't deserve it, what I'm saying is if they've learned something that's valuable and useful to them in those small chunks, we want to let them feel and experience that success, which will drive them to continue that education, to continue that learning so that they can get further and further. I do keep relating things back to career fields and programs at a career tech center, but I want to take it back to the traditional K-12 world here for just a second. When we talk about academic instructors versus program instructors, in a career center, there's more of a likelihood that those two could collaborate. In a K-12 school, that might not always be the case, but if you are integrating industry recognized credentials into your academic coursework, it really, really challenges that teacher, that instructor, to make those connections with industry for the student. So that really shows the student that that teacher is invested in them. It really deepens that relationship, and that student's going to perform better and be willing to put forth more effort for their teachers. In a career tech center, this also does provide a lot of support for the program teachers who often operate in a silo. They feel like they are the single teacher in that building, possibly that district, and they're the only ones that are teaching their content. And this really provides a chance for collaboration among those instructors where they can, plan projects that would go across academics and programs because those students are familiar with how things relate to one another. It could lighten a course load for a program instructor because an academic teacher is introducing, reinforcing, assessing those content standards that cross from academics to those program standards. So into the nitty gritty of what we offer here at Grant Career Center, I picked out two of our courses. One course is a science course and one course is a math course. So for science, I said one course, but these two that are listed here, electrical science and hydraulics and pneumatics, are both semester-long courses. And we have an instructor who has a background in these areas. And so for our electrical science course, the students are able to get 3 points for the fundamentals of electricity and 3 points for the snap-on multimeter credential. Typically for these two courses, especially the electrical science, we will have students in our auto tech program that take this course, our information technology program that take this course, but also our welding and metal fab, our engineering design. So it can really cover quite a span of what these students are doing. In our math course, we have a trade and industry math course where students are learning about precision measurement and using the tools that are associated with that. The students, when they go into these classrooms, even if they don't know the teacher yet, they'll see that Snap-on logo. And for them, that means it's relevant. For them, they know what that looks like. Snap-on has done a great job with their PR and their recruiting, that when somebody sees that, they know that that's a professional tool. They know that that's a professional skill that somebody's going to look at and say, oh, I'm confident that you know how to do this if you have a Snap-on certification. So it automatically provides that relevancy, even if they don't have that secure relationship with the teacher yet. So I want to take just a second and pause and ask if there are any questions so far about credentials offered. I am going to show a screen later that shows all of the credentials, but are there any questions so far?
In a small, quiet group.
Oh, we do. That's all right. That's all right. I'm going to talk a little bit more as I show this next screen has some pictures on it These pictures are just of some of our electrical and hydraulics and pneumatics, just students learning equipment, teachers teaching. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how we picked these courses. And everybody has a little bit of a different flair to their academic courses. Each teacher is different, so it's going to be different for every school. If you look at your academic teachers and you look at the courses that they offer or what their passion in their content area is, you can really kind of tailor it to be specific towards a career field or to find a credential that would benefit that student that a teacher's passionate about teaching. So when we looked at our course list, we handpicked some courses. And like I said, this is a promising practice. This is not an exemplar, but we picked some courses that we wanted to try these out in. And it ended up working out really well for us. So if you have any questions about how we did that, I'd love to talk with you. So I'm going to move on. So at Grant Career Center, we have really stood behind this initiative of mastery-based learning. This kind of goes back to when I was talking about our obstacles of students being disengaged and if they don't see the relevancy in something, not wanting to participate in it. Mastery-based learning has really helped to bolster our deep level of learning here because when students see relevancy in the credentials or they see relevancy in what they're doing, and they see where they're headed, why do they need to do this specific thing? It makes it more manageable for them. So with mastery-based learning, it really kind of takes away focus from busy work or completion grades or anything, behavior issues, which yes, still need to be addressed, but no, should not affect their grade. Their grade should be an accurate reflection of the knowledge they've gained in the class. When we looked at that as a career center, we saw that we needed to do mastery-based learning and our students could show us the skills that they've learned in their academic courses towards these industry recognized credentials to help get them prepared for their careers. When students see that they are they're not bound to seat time in a course. When students see that they're going to be learning a specific skill or a content area until they can show that they've mastered it, it really helps to propel them forward in their learning. I know I always have a lot of questions about our learning levels and how we do assessments with mastery-based learning. We spent a lot of time at Grant Career Center talking about our learning levels and what we wanted them to look like. We wanted them to be simple. We wanted them to really help describe where the student was within the course. So what we did was we took our topics and our standards, and each one of those would have a learning level attached to it. So if we did an introductory topic with a student, it might start out as a developing, right? And as that student shows their progression of mastery, that level is going to change. It's not going to be an average of everything overall. That level is going to change as that student shows you their mastery in that area. With hands-on skills and with industry recognized credentials, it's really hard to give an overall average of what the student knows. Giving them the ability to show their mastery is going to tell on their report card or on their credential certificate what they are actually able to do, which is what an employer is going to want to see. I'm going to pull up industry recognized credentials. If you wouldn't mind putting in the chat, which I don't think I can see. Yeah.
I can monitor it if somebody puts something in chat. That helps.
Okay. Um, if you want to go ahead and put in the chat your name and where you are from, um, it also will help kind of guide those conversations. Speaking with our associate schools, I've worked with them kind of on some of the credentials that they would like to look at or start offering within their own academic courses, which I think is amazing. And one of the things that I was a little bit surprised about, which I shouldn't have been, because the career tech world, the industry recognized credentials, isn't second nature, isn't a normal language for a typical K-12 school to speak. So what surprised me was that when we talk about these points for graduation requirements, a student earning 12 points of credentials needs to be clarified that it needs to be 12 points of credentials that are offered in one career field. So when I click on this link, it's going to show you that there are all of these career fields. So if you are offering credentials within your building, you want to make sure that you're going to offer ones that will span as many of these career fields as you can if you are a K-12 school, so that you're going to be hitting as many students as possible to give them as many opportunities as you can to hit those 12 points, if that's what your goal is. So for each of these career fields, if I chose agriculture and environmental systems, you're going to find a list of credentials, industry recognized credentials. Each one of these credentials is going to have a point value. This is what they're referring to when they're saying 12 points of credentials. Each of these credentials is worth a different number of points, and you want them to add up to 12 points. For it to count towards a graduation pathway, it needs to be 12 within the same career field. So this one is ag and environmental systems, but there are many in this career field that are also found in other career fields. So for instance, I think ag might have the most. Ohio driver's license, which I know some schools offer within the school, some schools don't. But the Ohio driver's license is in every single career field that's listed. The Six Sigma Yellow Belt is in every single career field that's listed. So some of these you may be able to put into an elective course, like the Six Sigma Yellow Belt would be a great credential for an elective course, whereas a forklift operation or a man lift operation might be a little bit more of a specific course. But you can go back and look at all of these industry recognized credentials by career field and see which credentials fit the courses that you currently offer. It's very hard and difficult on your academic instructors if you are picking credentials and telling them they're going to become trained in these and they're going to offer these if they're not ones that they have a background in. So if you look at your current instructors and you look at your current courses that you already offer and figure out which of these credentials fit in which places and have those open conversations with your instructors. I've found it to be really helpful, and they kind of get excited about it because they get to share their passion with their students, and it really shows through. Is there anyone that has questions about the credentials or Any questions about mastery-based learning?
I will say on our group here, we do have a few
Oh,
people that's registered in. There's several Southwest Tech Prep, and of course, Pam's on
mm-hmm.
here from the West region.
Yeah.
Jennifer Nolan from EHOVE, which is a career center, and then we have
Mm-hmm.
Mary Thomas, which is from the Catholic Inner City Schools, the
Okay.
SICE of Cincinnati. And then Barbie, of course, with the Southwest Tech Prep. So you have the whole Southwest Tech Prep team on here, and part of the
Thanks, guys.
And again, this is being recorded, so we understand that it's maybe small. Some of these are hard to get to during the day, so it's being recorded. So this will also be on the website for everyone to access. But again, I'll open it up again to any questions.
Jamie, I'll ask a question. This is Mary
Absolutely.
Thomas. We've had many conversations about driver's ed
Mm-hmm.
and staffing and integration. And I just wondered how you all do driver's ed at your school.
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have found a company that we partner with. And so it's kind of like a purchase service for us. It is a lot to have your own staff trained and go through that schooling, and it takes a lot out of their day to have to do the driving, the in-car portions with your students, as well as that in-class portion. I know that there are online options where a student can take the course online and then do the driving portion as well. But what we found was the most economical for us was we partnered with a company, and what our role with that company was we provided them a classroom. We provided them a classroom, and so they had an instructor that came in and they do the in-class coursework, the in-class instruction with our students. We pull them out of their class during the day for a number of weeks, right? Not every day, but we do, I think, Thursdays for a number of weeks, or depending on the timing, if they want it to be a shorter block, it might be Tuesdays and Thursdays for a number of weeks. They'll do the in-class. Once in-class is done, then those instructors will do driving times with the students. And they work that out with the students of when it works best for them. So we can pull them from class. They can do it after school. They can do it weekends with that instructor. But we provide a classroom, and then the student will pay. We I will have to figure out what the name of the grant is, but we did write for a grant and got money to help supplement. So for us, we help supplement for our students who are on free and reduced lunch or have a need for that cost, to help reduce the cost for them. But our students do get a reduced cost because of that partnership with the driving school.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And I'll just chime in a little bit because Grant Career Center is from such a rural area that that driver's license is so important because getting those job placements are very hard if you can't get the student there. So
It
I know
really is. There aren't very many places super close by for them to work in their career fields. That we have lots of fast food restaurants where they can work, but if we want to place them at somewhere that they're utilizing the skills, which is always our goal, place them somewhere that they're utilizing the skills that they learn in lab and really increasing those opportunities. A driver's license is a big deal, and driver's license is the first step, right? That financial education is a huge deal for them too, because we can help them with, financially in getting their driver's license. We can't help them financially in purchasing a vehicle. So that's the next barrier, right? So looking at what that entails for your students is, it can pose to be difficult.
Mary, are
Yeah,
you seeing with your students that they're waiting till they're 18 to get their license because of the cost, or are most of your students looking at the 16 age range?
most of them are not looking at it at all, Rita.
Easy.
Mm.
That's crazy.
You know, the family dynamics are such that there might not be a car in the house, there might not be drivers in the house. And so public transportation is really the mode of transportation that they use. And so it's not really incentivized.
Hmm.
But what we know is that that driver's license can open up so many opportunities. And so for some kids, it's helping them to see the impact that the driver's license can have on their ability to get a job that really supports them um, better than maybe an hourly wage position at fast food joint.
You know,
Yeah.
it may be something that it's really hard to take that course and make it its own course, like first bell every day, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
not an everyday thing. And then that instructor also has to have time to go out and do driving with the students. But if you think about integrating that into if you have a life skills course, right? Where a portion of that course is taught by that instructor, that driving school instructor, where they come in and they do the in-class portion with the students, but your teacher who's doing the life skills course and teaching them other aspects can fill in when that teacher, that driving school instructor is taking students to do driving hours.
Jamie, that made me wonder, is that a competency that could potentially be paired with like Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal, like that curriculum, because that's kind of the curriculum that you're referencing.
When I'm talking about life skills,
Mm-hmm.
some of it can be for sure. I mean, you could have an Ohio Means Jobs course, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
could be a part of
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. And bring in those speakers or experts in those areas and give those students those opportunities to show what they know and what they learn in each of those areas and provide examples. You could incorporate community service into that course. You
Yeah.
could all kinds of really neat opportunities for your students there.
Yeah. Can I ask another question, Rita?
Absolutely.
Jamie, sorry. Um, Southwest Tech Prep knows all the answers and I'm still learning. Um, One question that I was curious about are your learning levels. I was just on a webinar a little bit ago, and they were talking about repair kit for grades and really moving away from grades to kind of acknowledgement of skill development. And your learning levels speak to that as well. And I'm just curious how your students are responding to this type of assessment.
So in various ways. So we have students who are for the first time in their life able to take a breath with school because they are not concerned about that half a point. um,
Hmm.
they can show you what they know, and if they make a mistake, they're able to clarify that mistake and show you what they actually know because their grade is going to reflect what their final knowledge is in that area and topic. You know, if they had a bad day and weren't able to focus on an assessment, but 2 days from then, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what was going on, but can I please show you that I know this material? Their grade should accurately reflect their knowledge, right? Um, so there are those kids, and then you have the students who um, are really proficient in just regurgitating information to get the high grade, the grade chasers, they don't necessarily like this system because it's about the learning. It's not about the grade. In their entire lives, their
Hmm.
identity has been attached to the grades that they receive, not about the learning process. So it's very difficult for those students. So it is a little bit of a mixed bag, but I think they all really come around to um, I guess the discussions that you hear in class are no longer about grades. The discussions that you hear in class are about the learning. Well, what do I need to improve on? If they want to move up a level, it's not what grade do I have to get on this? It's what do I need to improve on? What do I need to learn better in order to move to that next level? Right? So it completely changes the dialogue in a classroom.
Well, and you said it perfectly when you said it takes the focus away from busy work. I'm not just giving you this assignment to get a grade. I'm
Yeah.
giving you this assignment because it's going to move you to that next level. So,
Yeah.
Well, and Jamie, it's almost like you have experience with students in Catholic schools because they're really good at getting that grade, and regurgitating that information. They don't necessarily love this challenge of learning. And so this would absolutely be a culture overhaul.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really hard for instructors as well, especially when you first start talking about it, because the way that they've taught their entire careers is different than this. And when they really look at what they're instructing their students on, we had teachers when we first rolled this out, it was like, but I love this lab, but I guess I don't really need to do this lab because it's not teaching them what they need to know. But I really like it. Like, well, it's good that you really like it. Maybe it can be an enrichment activity. Maybe it can be a form of an alternative assessment for a student who needs another form of, support or reassurance that they can do things, but it's not your main, your main assessment. So it really causes some reflection, some internal reflection of your staff members, which definitely has some growing pains attached to it. But it it the overhaul and conversation in classrooms is absolutely amazing. When you walk by and you hear teachers and students talking about learning versus grades is a pretty cool thing to witness and be a part of.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you really wove the concept of relevance into everything you were talking about today. And I think that student engagement around relevant learning is transformational.
I was that student. I did really well in school, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't my daughter's that student, she can do great. I did great. But I didn't care about it. I didn't like it. I'd be hard pressed to, tell you some of the things I learned, but I was really good at getting through it, and I think that's where you see a lot of when you said your Catholic students who they know how to get the grade, but as far as that knowing how to learn is a different skill. And it's one of those skills that our employers out there right now are looking for. They want people who know how to learn.
I like that.
Yeah, that AI is going to change the world of work.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Yep. Are there any other questions? I know we still have some time. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if I
Yeah,
can.
go. Oh, I'll stop sharing.
Okay.
There we go.
Again, we practiced this, right?
Yeah, we did.
Hang on. I'm trying to get mine on the full. Well,
And thank you, Mary, for your comments. And if you have any other questions or want to talk about it a little more, you're welcome to come out and talk to our instructors. You're welcome to come visit. Whatever is helpful for you.
That would be great. And I do want to put a plug for your academic and instruction career technical subgroup. I think that's a lot of fun to participate in and definitely very informative.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so are you seeing my screen? You seeing the blue screen? Okay. So again, we want to thank you guys for attending. I know the session has been amazing. I always learn something every time I listen to Jamie talk, and we have our CT Council meetings, and it's just a great partnership that they have, and a great group of superintendents. The partnerships that they have at Grant Career Center, they really do care about those students, but. We do want to hear your feedback. So there's two QR codes here. One is for your feedback, and then the other one is for a certificate if you want CEUs for attending today's. Let me go back here. I am having problems with, there we go. So I'll give you a minute to take those QR codes in. And then the next QR code that I'm going to show you is where this is going to be posted. It's going to be posted on all this information, this recording, everything will be posted on the Google site that has been created with the SST and the tech prep teams. So the recording sessions will be uploaded to the site so you can be able to see all this, and we'll also include Jamie's PowerPoint presentation as well. So if you guys have any questions, Jamie and I can stay on here, or we can stay on here for a few more minutes. But again, thank you guys.
Yes, thanks, guys.